you're good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Excellent. All right, cool. So, last week, we voted on our game. It's going to be a sci-fi game. Some things have changed. We'll talk about that later. But, welcome to VGDA Fall 2016 week traits. Will be the real work starting now. We'll be going full throttle, making the game that is currently called The Compass, although I'm sure Narrative has other plans for that title. It will be going full throttle now. Super exciting. We haven't done a sci-fi game yet in VGDA, and I'm super stoked to do one because I love me some sci-fi. All right, cool. So, first thing, going over our agenda, we're going to be talking about dues. Our guest speaker, Richard Koo, kind of how we do what's called agile development. He'll teach you what that is. If you don't know, don't worry about it. Trello, go over that a little bit, but Josh made us a video, and that video is in this presentation. We won't watch it because we have lots to do. Thank you. But, yeah. Oh, you don't know? We get to see your video. Yeah, whatever. All right, so we won't watch it because we have lots to do. But y'all will need to watch it. It's really helpful for figuring out kind of what's going on with Trello. Talk about our recognition system, how we recognize all the hard work people put into our games over the course of the semester. Talk about how to work in an iterative environment. We're talking about the experimental team, effective communication, an upcoming event, and discipline leads? I don't know what that is. That's the wrong title. Whatever. Well, it'll be a surprise for everyone. I'm sure I'll figure it out once I get that. Cool. Oh, I got it. Thanks. Dues are due. For anyone who hasn't turned them in already, you need to. We use the dues to pay for events, for food. They're all important. Candy, bribes. We're going to be using it to pay for equipment. So yeah, we need to first off, our games well. We've just gotten to a point where we're big enough that we start, before we started asking for dues, everything was coming out of the pocket of the executive board, and that ended up being like $300+ a semester, and this wasn't something that we wanted to continue doing. So we felt that it was appropriate to kind of divide that burden a little bit more. But it's only $10, it's not that much, and if you have any problems with paying it today, please let us know. You can pay for it incrementally. We go away keeping track of that. Some people are doing that already. But for those of you who can't pay today, we will be assigning you real tasks, or we will be putting you on a feature team this week. You can pay at any time, and as soon as you pay, you get put on a feature team. You start getting put on your way to getting some game credit. But until then, we want to make sure that people who are kind of carrying some of the financial burden of the organization are also getting the most benefit out of it. So yeah. So I've got this a little bit out of order. Oh wait, has anyone not paid? Sorry, is anyone who is going to pay not paid? Because I'd like us to take some time now to do it because we are organizing our feature teams right now based on who has brought in dues. So anyone? No one? Yeah? Come on down. Yeah, so now's the time to do it. I'll just take a quick recess and we'll just awkwardly stare. You can chat amongst yourselves and then we'll get back to the meeting. A schedule? Plan? Something.
He told me to go to the tutorial and learn how to deep. What tutorial? I don't know, but he posted it, so I'm gonna go with it. I don't want to join tech. I need more insight on how things work because I feel like I'm just walking around in the dark, telling people to do things and not understanding what I'm doing. So, yeah.
Tutorial that you posted.
Did you get my
basic message about the VGDA assets.
Okay. I'll take a look at that.
Yeah.
I just, I have too much worry. Think about it.
I was just curious if you got it or not.
Yeah, you can website. If you look up beginner scripting tutorials,
I'll take a look.
I've used those.
I don't know. I just after Sam said basically he was like looking at you're a full guy. There's no idea guys in the industry. You need to learn how to do basic coding. We're not going to hire you. And it was very.
Yeah.
It was almost as if he wanted to say that the entire time in the months we were talking.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he was rude, but it was more like it's time for you to get serious.
It's like, it's to participate.
I knew that was the case. I knew I needed to code.
Like, you could be in the club, you can kind of hang out, watch what we do.
But you can get the same feeling too. You know that like we're gonna get into industry.
Go to him.
It's gonna be very rare for one of us to get it.
Yeah, that also is a designer.
You just basically tell how much what you do.
If I actually understand the tools of what you mean. So, I can say, somebody shoes in a game, actually check physics, how it works. Just to actually, like, I know the difference between, like, scan rate testing and, like,
Oh, I know that too.
projectile
After
in, like,
Overwatch.
general. But,
Did you see his new video about America?
I didn't.
Okay, it's really good. Why, dude? What are you doing? What are you doing right now?
you have fallen so far, Nathan, in so little time.
Oh yeah, there we go. Wait, where is it? Where is it? How do you do it? Right there?
It's kind of low.
Lust boy. I was listening to you. Don't worry. I don't know. I know I need to learn, and if I don't, by the end of this year, I'm gonna be in a bad place.
Why? When you graduate?
I'm graduating this spring.
Which team?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's also fine.
Ryan Konglai learns how to code everything in less than 6 weeks.
Honestly,
So you can still get
one is like this year, I was on the indie game developers, and this guy was like, "Hey, I've just been messing around with technology. What do you guys think?" It's the gorgeous games I've ever seen. I'm like,
What's Blender?
or 3D modeling, which is a Blender's 3D modeling.
Okay.
It's free. It's open source. It can be a little hard to get into. It's just like a giant tree of everything.
But what you're saying has a lot of potential.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
We
Because I don't know how to do art, but I know how to envision things. Like Nathan's beard.
What?
Your beard that isn't there.
My beard that isn't there?
Yeah.
Because I have a job. I need to look clean shaven, so I just.
Where do you work?
I work on at the tea room on the Queen Mary. Vest, tie, tea, an abundance of British people going through withdrawals because they haven't had like a proper cup of tea.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm 100%.
Wait, what's the Queen Mary?
Yeah. It's a big boat.
Okay,
You know the big boat in Long Beach?
You went to the Aquarium of the Pacific?
I haven't actually been to the coast. We'll talk later.
Okay.
What's up?
I haven't really explored the city. All I do is play World of Warcraft and press narrative and scream. I do scream a lot.
Well, I'm playing games together.
No, I mean online.
And there might be
Yeah.
things where they're like, hey, so we need to have the cockpit thing tell us about the character.
Facebook on iPad. What did really happen to ask?
Actually, I want to talk to you about something. Because there's something that irks me about tutorial. I like to make it tutorial like put it back out.
What?
Talk about it later.
All right. Anyone else who needs to pay DL dues?
No, bro.
Yeah?
No.
All right, cool. So
No.
take care of that. So it seems like there's just one more person. Oh, and you'll be going over to Josh Tucker over here to take care of that. All right. So since it seems like pretty much everyone has taken care of that already, I'll just keep talking at you. So Richard Koo, we were supposed to have, he's going to come and talk about your gameplay design this week. He emailed me last night asking if he could delay it for another week just so he can make sure to have a little more time to put together a really awesome presentation. I said yes because it actually works out better for us. We were kind of in a panic on Tuesday when we realized all of the stuff that we have to do today. And the idea of like getting all of that done in like an hour and 15 minutes was really scary. So it's actually kind of a win-win. We'll have him next week. Also, we're talking to one of our alumni, Aaron Gutierrez, who is currently working on Hearthstone, and he will probably be coming down and doing a QA. He's a programmer. He and I, we were freshmen together 20 years ago, and he and I both kind of put each other on the path to game development, so it's pretty awesome. Yeah, so that should be happening sometime in October, but one of our VGDA alums made it. All right, cool. So, on to the business. Games have a lot of moving parts, and so it takes a lot of time and effort to keep things organized, keep things running smoothly. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we do that. So there are lots of ways of planning out a project. Kind of a common way is to be like, all right, so here's my end goal, and I'm going to lay out all of the steps to achieving that end goal. People do that when you're like building something, whatever. That's known as waterfall. Very popular for making buildings, and it works for making buildings. For software development, which is what games are, doesn't work so well. And the reason is that when you're making a building, you kind of always know how strong the materials are. Gravity is always the same. You know basically the weather that happens in the area that you're building. You have a lot of kind of things that you already know before you're going into the project. When you're making games, for example, and you have complete control over how high a character can jump, or if there is gravity at all, or if they can move through walls, or any of that stuff, it's a lot more unclear, and it means that you have a lot of weird problems that kind of pop up because there's so much uncertainty. So this idea came around where basically you accept that uncertainty in your planning phase. And so while you do try to figure out you definitely figure out what your end goal is, and you try to figure out the steps that are in between, you also set yourself up in such a way so that you can deal with unforeseen problems that are going to come your way. When I say problems, I don't mean problems in a bad way. I just mean problems as in like things that need to get solved in order for the game to be as successful as it can be. So this technique is generally referred to as agile production, as the agile production methodology. There we go. So that's something that we learned about a few years ago, and in our first big development project, we kind of started off with waterfall because we didn't know any better. It kind of made sense to us. We didn't know that there were other production methodologies out there. We had never even heard of the phrase production methodology. And then a few of us went to a talk. We learned about agile. And in the last 2 weeks of that semester's development, we got more done than we had gotten done in the previous 6 weeks. So it was a huge, huge change for us, and we've been refining on our particular version of Agile ever since. So we don't use the entire Agile framework, mostly because, well, we don't have all of the tools that would make that useful, because those tools are like, for an organization of our size, like $450 a month. We don't have that kind of money, so yeah. But yeah, so the things that we use in Agile Framework, and so if you're interested in production, these are things that you can look up, are product backlogs, which is basically a list of all the crap you need to take care of. Risk assessments, which are like when someone's proposing a new feature, like I want to be able to travel at hyperspace and like blow through enemies and blah, blah, blah. We go, okay, well, what is that? Like, what extra strains are that going to put on the development team? We use Scrum, which is what we talk about later. Basically, they're super short meetings. We use burn down charts, which is basically a graph showing us how much work we've gotten done versus how much work we still have to get done. And availability charts, which are basically you telling us how many hours a week you can work. That's about it. If you are interested in production, we always need more people to help out with that. So email me at president@vgda@gmail.com. We'll be teaching about Scrum's availability charts. So that's most of what you actually need. You, as like someone on the big development team who's not on the production side, who's not a team lead or not a discipline lead or feature team lead, need to know about. So in our meetings, like I said, we mostly just use Scrum's availability charts. But the idea is to keep people informed about everything that's going on. I knew there was something I didn't put in the slides today. All right, so like I mentioned last week, we'll be having 2 meetings in this meeting. It's like meetingception, it's crazy. But we'll be having a discipline team meeting, which will be like a really short, your discipline lead telling you, kind of updating you about what's going on, and then basically a quick discussion about what you've been working on, and kind of showing off what you've been working on, and when that's necessary for like sound and art people, and then quickly describing what direction you're going for the narrative team. And then for the technical team, like, hey, my code didn't break. Awesome. All right. Yeah, pretty much. But part of what keeps people updated every week is every week the feature team leads will have a short presentation, like really short presentation, going over what they've worked on, what their team has worked on the past week, and what they're planning to work on this week. The last half of the meeting is going to be that kind of the multiple meetings. So once you're done with your discipline meeting, you will go and you will scrum with your feature team, which is like like everyone's standing in a circle and taking 15 seconds to be like, hey, I was working on this last week. I was having maybe these problems if they came up, or you bombed it, or you aced it, and you were just like, I rocked that. No problems, it's perfect. You don't even need to look at it, it's great. And then you'll also be like, and this is the things that I'm interested in working on this upcoming meeting. And so that'll be that'll be the feature team meeting. During the scrum, don't ask questions or make comments until the end of the scrum. Because what happens if you do is that the conversation, like people start responding, and the scrum gets stuck on one person, and then 40 minutes later you're talking about how Mass Effect 3 should have ended, and it just never, it's not great.
It's just narrative. We don't talk about that anymore.
And you'll also be letting your teams, during your scrum, you'll be letting your feature team know how much time you have to commit to development this week. Sorry, I'm like all over the place. Not very much sleep. That's the first thing I'm eating. And then, yeah, anyway, so sorry about that. So, once the scrum is finished, after you've given your time commitments, your time availability to your or team lead, you will be assigned tasks. Based on your preference as often as we can. We do want you guys to be working on stuff that's fun for you. But we can't always do that. This presentation, as always, will get posted up on our Facebook page, on our Facebook group tonight. This video is in there. I'll also post a direct link in the comments to this video so you can watch it. But this is just a quick run through of how to use Trello. It's going to be super useful, super informative, and it'll help your leads. It'll help your leads out a lot because oftentimes what happens when people don't watch this video is they bog their leads down with questions about how to use Trello. Now, if you watch this video and there's still something that's not answered, that's totally fine. We're not experts at teaching people how to use this by any means, but at least watch the video first. It'll help. So, without our recognition system, which is something we've been talking about, or I've mentioned the last few weeks, VGDA is not a tiny bit of work. People put a lot of effort, a lot of work into it. We really want to appreciate publicly the effort that everyone puts in. So to this end, a little over a year ago, we put this system together, and it's basically a point system where the more tasks you complete and the more deadlines you hit, the more points you get, and then you kind of level up in the credits at the end of the semester. So we have 3 levels. We have contributing developer, people who weren't able to contribute a whole lot over the course of the semester, but they still gave us something in terms of ideas or discussion or something like that. Maybe they weren't able to meet a whole lot of deadlines, you just had 1 or 2. Basically, yeah, that's what contributing developer is. Associate developer, people who hit about half of their deadlines. They've done a substantial amount of work, but about 50% as far as actually meeting deadlines and stuff like that. Core developer, people who've done a bunch of work or met almost all of the deadlines. And so the way that this works out, I know that these points here, so the way that this works out is every hour of work is worth 1 point. So your future team leads, assisted by the discipline leads, will be assessing how many hours they think each particular task will take. That task will then be worth a number of points equal to the hours that we think it will take. Additionally, if you, every week that you complete your task, you get 2 points as a meeting the deadline thing, because meeting the deadline is just so important. So you can, while you can't do multiple tasks in a week, we only give the deadline bonus out once a week. But basically what this means is, the way the math breaks down, is if you meet 2 deadlines, you get contributing bonus. If you meet 6 deadlines, assuming that you were doing 3 hours of work a week. If you work for 2 weeks, you get to contributing, you get to 6 weeks. If you meet 6 deadlines, you get to associate. If you meet most, about 11 of the weeks, if you're basically checking in every week or you're doing a lot of work, half the week, something like that, you'll get to 55. We just want 3 hours a week. If you do that, there are about 90-ish people who are assigned to be on the development team. That's 270 work hours a week times 11. That's a lot of hours. We can definitely make something awesome if everyone puts in just that relatively small amount of time. I didn't press any buttons. How did you do that? All right, cool. So, I already explained all this. All right. So, there's one thing though. We're always getting better at these kind of task assessments. So sometimes we'll give you something that's like, we think this could be 2 hours, and it'll be like 7 hours later. And that's just like crazy. So please let us know at development.vga. Oh, it says Aaron still, man. I need to change that, Aaron. But if you feel that you spend significantly more time than the task was kind of like, if you feel that you spend significantly more time than the task said you were supposed to have to spend in order to get it done, email your team lead, email your feature team lead, email Josh at development.vgda@gmail.com, and me at president.vgda@gmail.com, because we want to make sure that everyone's getting the recognition we deserve. We take that really seriously. So we'll work with you, figure out what went wrong. Most of the time when that's happened, we've taken a second look at the task and been like, yeah, this should have been like this task should have been worth way more points, assessed at way more hours, and we usually give it people. There have only been a few times where we were like, are you sure Netflix wasn't distracting you? In fact, I think it maybe has happened once. But that was a pretty extreme case. And most of the time, we just email you once or twice, and then we go, yeah, here are the points that you have earned. So kind of a blow by blow rundown, just because I know I've been kind of going back and forth of how the recognition system works. So you, as our steadfast developers, will decide how many hours you can spend on VGDA this week. You will let your feature team leads know. They will assign most of the week's tasks right after the scrum. So you should have, everyone who can come to the Thursday meetings should have tasks by the end of Thursday. There'll be a check-in on Sunday. Please let your team lead know how progress is coming and whether or not you think this will be completed on time. Also, for those of you, we talked about the experimental team. We'll be talking more about it in more detail today. But for those of you who are on the experiment, who want to be on the experimental team next semester, who really want to kind of build up a lot of skills and good practices, these check-ins we keep track of, and it's going to be a really important thing for you guys to be checking in regularly. There will also be a check-in on Tuesday by 2 p.m. And all tasks are due on Tuesday night. If you have checked in on Sunday and Tuesday, and you feel that you need an extension, you will have until Wednesday night to finish your tasks in order to still get the deadline bonus. If a task is completed by Tuesday night, or Wednesday if you have an extension, you get the deadline bonus of 2 bonus points. And once a task has been completed, a new task will be assigned to you no later than the next general meeting. The week that you get contributor, that you level up to contributor, associate, or core developer, we'll celebrate you. You'll come up here, I'll throw candy at you, we'll read out your name, you will applaud, it'll be a good time. If you have any, okay, I'm actually going to take a quick question break because I know this is like a lot of information. So, does anyone have any questions about this so far?
No.
What if we don't complete the task?
You're a failure! No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so that's a great question. If you don't complete a task during a week, we'll check in with you and be like, hey, do you still want to work on this task? Do you still plan on working on this task? Do you think you'll be able to complete this task by this upcoming week? Basically, the task will still be yours unless we say otherwise. Here's a caveat to that though. Anyway, alright, the caveat is that if you completely drop off the map, if you don't email us, you stop coming to meetings, and you've been assigned a task, like, we'll be trying to reach out to you, I promise. But if you don't reach out to us in any way, and it's been like 2-3 weeks, then your task is probably going to be going to someone else without you. Like, we will have tried to let you know, but that happens every once in a while, and it's okay. Life happens, and sometimes there are spontaneous trips to Antarctica, but we do need, like, the game does need to progress. It's in the best interest of everyone. We do have to keep, like, the whole organization's best interests in mind. And so, yeah, if you totally drop off the face of the earth, we'll give your task to someone else because we don't assign tasks that don't need to get completed. Okay? All right. Any other questions? Cool. All right. If you decide later that you have any more questions about this, too bad. You can email me at president.vgda@gmail.com. So, as always, we need people to stay in contact with us. Get on our Facebook page. There are a lot of Facebook chats going for the various disciplines. Those are super important to get onto. The individual discipline leads will probably tell you how best to get those, but if you're on my art team at least, message me on Facebook and be like, hey, you haven't added me to the art chat yet, and then I'll add you there. Okay, so Beach Sync. Sign up for Beach Sync, search for Video Game Development Association, ask to be let into the organization. This is what the school keeps track of when you're deciding who to give money to, and I'm going to be begging for money on Tuesday, like a lot of money for an event that we're trying to put on. So yeah, please look up. All right, Facebook. That's a link that you can follow. I'd love to say that this will be posted on Facebook, so you can just follow this link to get to our Facebook link. Yeah, anyway, so that's the link. Take a picture if you're not already on our Facebook page. And then Trello. Email your team leads with the username and email that you signed up for Trello with, because sometimes you here for video games? No? Okay. All right. There's just someone who's like, this is the wrong place. All right. So email your leads with the username and email that you signed up for Trello with. I say and email because Trello can be kind of weird about searching for usernames. Not always, but sometimes. Email, it always gets right. Username, not always. Okay. Oh, yeah, ignore this. All right. One more thing. Game development is inherently iterative. What I mean by that is that you make something and it doesn't work, and then you make something else and that doesn't work, and you make something else, that doesn't work, and the fourth time you make it, it works great. And part of the reason that this happens is because game development's still really new. Everyone's, like, the whole industry is just learning all the time, and, like, interactive experiences are changing so much. Like, we have VR, which is, like, still only a few years old, and that's just totally crazy. And the transition between making something that's like a kind of static image or a static piece of music or anything like that that's working in a vacuum, and putting that into an interactive experience where it's working with other people's art, other people's sound, people's design, blah, 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 blah. It's a very jarring transition sometimes, and a lot of times you need to do what's called iterating, which is just refining whatever it is that you've made. So that's something that is accepted in all of the big companies. Basically, I'd say every company, but I don't know every company, but at least the big SoCal companies, I know people who work at most of them, and they all agree, without a doubt, game development is super iterative. So, what we want to avoid people doing is we want to avoid people trying to make the perfect thing on their first try. I know that sounds weird, but the reason that we want people to avoid doing that is because you never make the perfect thing on your first try. I don't care how good you think you are. I mean, no one does. At all. Ever. Except me. Yeah, it never happens. It's never perfect your first try. It always takes a little bit of tweaking. And so what we really want people to do is we want people to, and you can use this in your Blizzard interviews when you're all applying for those internships that are coming up soon. You want to avoid the great reveal, which is like you spent 3, 4, 5 weeks working on something, and you're like, here it is. And we're like, it's totally wrong. Because in all likelihood, if you had showed it to us after 2-3 days of working on it, if that, and by 2-3 days I mean like 2-3 VGDA days, which is 2 hours. After 2 hours, you could probably send us something, your feature team lead or your discipline lead, what you were working on, the beginnings of what you were working on, and we could be like, no, that's not working. This little part is working, run with that, but the rest of it's not working. And that's so much better for a lot of reasons. One, you're getting feedback, you know your work is being appreciated, even if they're telling you that it's not going the way that you've done it the first time isn't working, you're still going to get that feedback, you're still going to be improving. Also, it keeps your feature team leads from having heart attacks because they know that you're working. Yeah, it helps us so much because otherwise we're just awake at night sweating and we're just I don't know if Josh is doing his thing. Revisions will almost always have to be made, so please let that process start as quickly as possible. We're all learning. I want you to feel safe in bringing up unfinished work to us because we'll probably be able to see it. At least if you tell us what you're going for, we'll be able to see. We'll be able to take that into account and put you on a more accurate course. If you want a video that explains this way better than I do, and with inspirational music and better puns, follow this link or look up Fail Faster on Extra Credits on the Extra Credits YouTube channel because there's more people. So the walls of text are just getting bigger and bigger. We're almost done. All right, so collaboration is not an easy thing, and it's not really something that's taught that well at Cal State Long Beach. A lot of the disciplines that we have most heavily featured in VGDA are kind of taught mostly to just try to be as awesome as they can and screw everyone else. That's not how you get big things done. At least not anymore. So these are just some things that you can take into account whenever you're trying to work with people in VGDA or later when you're a high-powered executive at Activision or something like that. These skills or this mentality will help you out a lot. So the first thing is that everyone is here because they want to work on something great. If you don't want to work on a large group, you don't want to make something awesome, you're in the wrong place. So everyone here is really passionate. Everyone is here to spend a lot more hours than they do in a lot of other organizations. A lot of even their classes. So everyone's really passionate. Everyone has an opinion. So just because you're really excited about your opinion, please try to consider that other people have them too. We have a lot of big talkers in here. I talk a lot and I talk loud, and the thing that I've been trying to be better at is making space for people to express their opinions. I'm still working on it. I still talk too loud. So, especially my art peeps, if I'm just accidentally overriding people, I don't know, pick me or something, be like, hey, shut up and let us talk. But I'm also going to try to be so, what does everyone else think? And as cheesy as that is, if you see someone who's not talking, that doesn't mean that they don't have something to say. Kind of in that vein, a lot of people can start to feel, if you aren't careful, that their opinions don't matter to you, like when you're talking to them in a one-on-one situation. So, like, I want to say that everyone's opinion matters, but saying it and actually making people believe that are very different things. And it is the duty of everyone here to make everyone feel that their opinions matter, because they do. So, a big way that you can change that is making sure that people know that you value their opinions, because I don't think there are a whole lot of people who are just like, I don't care what anyone else thinks, I'm going to do things my way, because my way is the best way. Like, I don't think there are a whole lot of people in here that are like that. But you can not think that way at all and still make other people think that you think that way. So, responding to their idea with a question, like, what do you think that idea will accomplish? Instead of, why the would you do, like, the way that you respond is super important. Something like, could you explain how X idea will fit in with our experience goals? Because this whole game is about satisfying the goals of the initial experience pitch. Just saying, like, no to someone, just slamming that door in their face, it's not going to help. Doesn't help at all. And also, sometimes what happens is, like, we're all learning how to communicate better, and people don't always express themselves in the best way. So try to take that into account and give people opportunities to explain themselves and make themselves clear. I guess it's kind of what this is. All right, so on to the experimental team. So this is a slide from a couple weeks ago, but people who weren't here, we had this idea that, or we've realized that the big development team does a really great job at teaching people how to work in a big collaborative setting. And there are so many skills that are involved in that, like almost too many to list. And that's why we do this. That's why we take on the really enormous challenge of organizing ourselves in this way. But it's not as good at teaching people how to work in like a smaller, more self-sufficient team. Feature teams are going to help with that a little bit, but it's still not quite as much as it could be. And that's a set of useful skills, like how to be a little bit more self-sufficient. So next semester, we'll be forming a team of our smaller, more experienced developers who kind of shown themselves to have mastered a certain set of skills. And the people who are in this team will not only be able to practice a new set of skills, but they'll also allow us to practice new forms of game development that maybe, like, they'll probably help us figure out a way to put together like a 3D pipeline, like a 3D art pipeline, which is something we really want to do for a while. And other things like that. So the team, by necessity, is going to be super small. So we're going to have an application process to determine who will be on the team next semester. If you'd like to be considered, please email us at development@vgda@gmail.com. So about the application will be posted online tomorrow, but for those of you who might be interested, this is basically what you need to prove over the course of this semester. You need to be able to work remotely. You need to show that you're able to be like responsible working remotely. That's where the checking in part comes in, because the experimental team will be a little bit more like less they'll be a little bit more loosely formed. If that makes sense. you need to show that you communicate often and that you communicate in a way that, kind of what I was talking about earlier, that encourages more communication from other members. You need to show initiative with creative problem solving and taking the initiative to draw attention to problems. That's another thing that I talked about a couple weeks ago, where if something is happening and you don't like it, please let us know. We want to improve VGDA for you and for everyone else who's in VGDA. So letting us know when something's not going well helps us make everything better, even if it's kind of a pain. Here to make video games, Brett? Video? Okay. All right. And the last thing, for expertise. So we're putting expertise on the bottom because, all right, put expertise on the bottom because like these skills really let you take full advantage of the skills that came before it. Really let you make the most advantage, take the most advantage of expertise. But basically, you need to show that you can quickly create work that requires minimal adjustment in order for it to be game ready. So if you're writing code, making something that doesn't have a whole lot of bugs in it. If you're doing art, making something that doesn't require a whole lot of revision. But it also needs to be done quickly because the experimental team will be on the same kind of time restraints, probably, that the big development teams. Sorry, when I say probably, I actually meant definitely be on the same time constraints as the big dev. As far as how do you prove that you have these skills? In filling out the interest application, you'll be letting us know, which is why we had to do it, you'll be letting us know that you want to show us that you have these skills, that you've mastered these skills. And we'll be making sure to assign you tasks that help us evaluate that. Additionally, we'll be having meetings with the prospective experimental team members to give them feedback and also to teach them more focused skills that will help you with the smaller team. Do we have any questions about the experimental team right now? Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be working on the overall game of next semester, or are they just going to make like their own little game?
Thank you. You'll be making your own game, an entirely separate game.
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
So we're like basically an indie company at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else? Whenever I ask questions, it seems like everyone takes that opportunity to like scratch. All right. Very distracting. All right. No? Come on, I'm not doing that good today. Like maybe last week. Oh man, fuck you. All right.
What
all right.
happened?
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that good this time. I'm just too sleep deprived. No? All right. If you have any questions, you know who to email. That one. All right. So we finally got approval to host a really cool event next Friday. I'm a little scared, but I'm very excited. We're partnered up with several high schools from around SoCal. We're going to be hosting a game jam for them. Now, this is basically going to be a chance where they come in and we kind of tell them about the career opportunities that are available that are available in the game industry that people might not even be aware of. And we'll also be kind of demonstrating that by showing them how to make games. There's a really easy program that we'll be using called Scratch. It's kind of like drag and drop, very basic, like not even programming, more like pre-written code that you just like fill in. Anyway, it's really easy. And we'll be teaching them how to. Hey guys. All right. So we'll be teaching them how to make games, and yeah, it'll be awesome. We, as an organization, really like the idea of improving our industry and our community because we feel that everything that we do that improve the quality of games, make people more aware of how awesome the game industry can be, it's just going to help us out. But what do we need? We really need at least 8 more volunteers who are willing to learn how to use Scratch. Takes a few hours, and as well as meeting up with me on Monday or Wednesday to make sure that you know everything about Scratch that you need to know. We have kids coming in. You'll basically be taking on a team of like 5 high schoolers. You might call them kids, but yeah, sure, okay. So I just remember, like, now I feel like a kid again, but I remember like between like 14 and like 19, I was like, I'm not a kid.
The one 17-year-old in here just chuckles awkwardly.
Yeah. My hair was like this long. It was good. All right.
Same.
So those of you who are looking to be on the experimental team, this is a really great time to show that you can learn new skills. This will go a long way to proving that for us. Also, those of you who volunteer and put in the hours, you will have your dues waived or refunded if you've already paid them, and you'll also get a free VGDA t-shirt this semester. So, we need people. We really want to make this event successful because not only will this be great for the high schoolers, but it'll be great for VGDA because these are the kind of events that get in the news, and these are the kind of events that put us more on the map as far as being like a legit gaming club, like game development club, sorry. Like building up a reputation helps a lot because if you put VGDA in your resume and someone, like this actually happened to me this summer, like I put my resume right now is entirely VGDA and I sent that out and I was handing it out to people and someone went, oh, I know VGDA, yeah, you guys are doing cool stuff. So these are the kinds of things that are really important. It's also really important for them to be successful. So in order for that to happen, we need 8 more volunteers. Okay. Any questions about that? Yeah.
Okay, so will this take precedence over the Dev Jam next Friday?
Yes.
Okay, so there's no Dev Jam next Friday.
Yes.
Wait, no, there's just the people that are going.
Yeah.
Okay, how long is this?
It's long. The teaching time is going to be from probably 12 until 6.
All right.
With a like 45-minute lunch break.
Lunch break.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
When do you need to know if we can volunteer?
Technically Tuesday, just so that I can, if you can, so the volunteers need to be able to meet with me on Monday or on Wednesday so that we can just go over some things, make sure that you have all the skills that you need in order to actually like teach these kids and answer their questions. If you can't make these times, let me know and we'll try to figure out something, but you need to let me know in time for you to be able to make it to one of these things. Does that make sense?
What time is you available?
I am available all of both of these days. Yeah. Although, if you could not get me out of bed at 8 a.m., that'd be awesome.
How long until your t-shirts?
What?
How big are your t-shirts?
What?
The size of the t-shirts, man.
As big as you want them, baby.
What time?
It starts, so the event starts at 11. We'll need a few people to help with setting up at 10, but I think we've like sort of got the setting up stuff covered, so the teaching side of things is going to be between like 12 and 6, although like having some time before and after, like we can get there maybe at like 11:30 to maybe 6:30 would be the ideal. taking place here. The Council Long Beach is taking place in the ballrooms, which are in the USU. In the second floor of the USU. Yeah. Yeah.
Will that pay the fine? As you go soon, how will you pay the fine?
What?
Will that pay the fine?
I do.
Oh, right here. Anyone else? Yeah. Message me on Facebook. Or, oh, you give it to him? Yeah. Okay, cool. Actually, somehow, you let me know somehow. You can email me at president.vgda@gmail.com, or you can Facebook message me if that's easier. I know I have a lot of you on Facebook. A lot of you can find me on Facebook. You can definitely find me if you're on the video game thing, on the Video Game Development Association group page. But if you're not on our Facebook page yet, and it's just easier for you to email me, that's totally fine. Just email me at president.vgda@gmail.com. Okay? Any other questions? Well, once, twice, sold, man, that's right. All right, cool. Okay. Is that really all I've got? Wow, that's really all I've got. Okay. Boy, that was a lot. All right.
There's no secret slide.
There's no secret slide this time. Questions, comments, feedback?
How's the day going?
Boy, I do.
Once a week, maybe twice, even.
Anyways, yeah, my day has been very, we'll say productive. Yeah, it's been good. All right. Anyone else? Okay, cool. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have art people over there. Oh, right. Feature team leads. Or, wait, what?
Presentations.
Oh, duh, yeah, presentations. Duh. All right, so, very good. All right, so what we're going to have now is we're going to have the discipline lead presentations happening. Okay. So, yeah, we're going to have discipline lead presentations happening. And I'll go first since even though I was yelling at all the other discipline leads to finish theirs, I didn't finish mine. Anyway, yeah. Cool. So, but I visual aid, so it's all good. All right, so, and this is tiny. All right. There we go. Okay. So, the art team spent this week just trying to nail down the visual style. So, visual style is like kind of what colors we're going to be using, what shapes we're going to be using, what kind of lines we're going to be using, stuff like that. And so we were going back and forth, but a lot of us were really liking the kind of more colorful stuff. And we felt that our more colorful stuff could maybe really give that sense of awe that was in the initial game pitch. And now all these images are super small since I zoomed out. No, I don't know how to use this website.
Just freaking out on you.
Everything's right here. But there was a lot of the back and forth was about whether or not we wanted to have like kind of really bright, high saturation colors, or if we wanted to go with something a little bit less saturated, something a little bit more realistic in terms of color. But most of the discussion was about color because people generally really liked stuff that had a more minimalist feel. So we're not going for something that has a whole lot of like crazy like lines and stuff going on. So to make this as short and painless as possible, eventually I settled on a few things, and So this would be a pretty bright, colorful space game. That's sort of what we're looking at. Yeah. Okay. So, who's next? Gameplay?
Sure. Wait,
Oh,
I
what's
have a
up?
question on the
Yeah.
art choice. I've been talking so much, I'm sorry. But like how is the bright colors going to reflect this feeling of like isolation and loneliness in the deep vastness of space? Are you going for the awe moment of like how big space is in terms of making you feel small in that awe?
So some of the discussion that happened was basically this mostly happened on last Thursday,
Okay.
but so we felt that moments of loneliness could happen if you feel that you are the only one of your kind
Okay.
in a play space. So, like, you'll mostly be fighting against, like alien robot drone things,
Mhm.
and so visually we'll separate those pretty distinctly from who you are as a character. And since you'll basically, like, you will be on your own, you will like be playing with big spaces and stuff like that.
Cool.
At least that's the hope.
Alright.
Yeah. And also the music's going to be helping a lot with the feeling of loneliness too. Yeah. All right. Gameplay?
Cool.
Did you get it? What? For what? Did you message me something? Yep. Aww.
Oh, come on, guys.
So I forgot to put something at the end of this, and it matters. That's not. Beautiful. All right. So, okay. Gameplay changes this week. The designers and I talked a lot. Yeah. Okay. The designers and I talked a lot this week about how the core mechanics were fitting up with the core experience, and we felt like it was contradicting it a lot because the core experience had a lot to do with awe and loneliness, but where the core mechanics, core experience on loneliness. That's that core experience. But when we talk about the core mechanics, where it shines is in the combat. That's how it's set up in the pitch, at least. So there seemed to be a bit of contradiction here, and we needed to pick a path. We also had some other issues with the pitch core mechanics in play, which was it was hard to map the controls to mobile, and as I say, contradicted with the core experience. So we settled on with something that is a bit more accessible and fits that core experience a lot better. So this has to do with having two virtual joysticks that appear when you tap on a screen. This is particularly for mobile. There are also PC controls and possibly gamepad controls. That's more of a stretch goal that we've included in the minimum viable product document, which is kind of like the first complete-ish build of the game that should be up in the next couple of weeks. But and it says here, this is the left stick that will appear when you tap on the left side of the screen. If you move it, say in this direction, the ship will move in that direction. Tracker beam. Now the tracker beam, this will move other objects towards the ship. When you tractor beam onto something else, the ship doesn't move because of the tractor beam. So what's cool about this is you can use this to block, say, enemy fire, or you can use it for puzzles, or you can use it for stealth to block, say, an enemy's detection range. There's a variety of ways you can use this. So this actually came out of kind of a stupid suggestion of I said something, then another designer was like, well, what if we did this? And then I was like, well, what if we did that? And then, so from there, we eventually got to this, and you guys should be seeing more in-depth explanation of what is going on here and what will happen in the core gameplay in a minimum viable product doc that I made should be on you guys' Trello boards within the next day or two. Alright, so this, as I said, aligns with the core experience much more. It shines in a variety of gameplay situations that I highlighted, and it also has much more accessible controls that can be mapped to a bunch of other devices, for instance PC and gamepad, which I'm really excited to maybe play a VGDA game on a gamepad. So this is actually a list of the mechanics. I'm not going to go through them there's actually just the movement for mobile controls, but for movement, if we were just getting movement on the previous core mechanics and the firing and then the shields and everything that the player had to deal with just to start and figure out the core of the game so they could start enjoying it, it was a lot to deal with on a mobile game where you don't have a lot of interfaces to distinguish between on a controller or a PC. So one of the reasons why we got rid of that. Okay. Get away from the mechanics. Core mechanics. Okay. One of the rules as level designers that I'm going to be announcing both at the feature team meeting and that we're going to be using while designing levels is that the player must always have the ability, if there are enemies in this level, to be able to get through the level without killing them. So essentially, if we were to take an Undertale reference or Mass Effect, if you want to go the genocide route, or if you want the pacifist route, or you want to do the neutral route, and this will affect the dialogue options that you get in the branching dialogue that narrators write. So cool stuff which may in turn affect the ending. Any questions so far? All right.
Oh my god. So is this gonna be kind of like a black or white system? So where you kill one guy and now you get the bad ending, or is it kind of like Shades of Grey sort of thing where?
Probably all along the lines of Shades of Grey, since Elijah is the narrative lead.
Like if you do an ending, it'll just be
Okay.
But again, we haven't totally figured out the ramifications.
Okay.
Yeah, great question. Lastly, I goofed this Friday with dev jams. With my team specifically, I failed to document what we decided at the dev jam and make it known to them in that day. Or I waited a long time to do that. And that's something that we've had a problem with design for a long time in VGDA. We've had a problem with a lot of other teams in VGDA in getting people knowing what is happening in day to day, moment to moment. And dev jams, generally when a lot of work gets done. Unfortunately, not everybody can be there to do all the work. So when those people aren't there who do want to work and be there, they just kind of get left out, and eventually sometimes they leave, unfortunately. So this semester, the leads and I, we're going to get together and we're going to figure out a way to document what is happening at Def Jam so everybody can get involved even if you can't come. I highly recommend you come because it's great, getting the feedback from everybody and shooting your ideas. But if you can't come, we're going to try to make it easier for all you guys, which includes, my next point, communication. Maybe doing updates in the form of a Google Doc or Google Drive, but additionally, maybe some live chat or live stream of the Dev Jam. So everybody can tune in from time to time. If you can't stay the whole time, you can pop in, ask a question, see, okay, what's happening over there? Stuff like that, so we can better include everybody else in the conversation. Any questions on that? Great, we're going to get through one last thing. I didn't make a slide for it, but designers, we're going to learn the Unity editor, which is basically drop and drag stuff mostly. It's really easy.